welcome to another Wednesday Night Undressed, an elusive alliteration, pointing pungent perspicacity, together with a thrilling grenadier, rapturous, rippling rumbustuousness. Our panel tonight includes Ivo, the great Ivanov.
Hell yeah.
Who has his own castle and drink line after him. Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Kathleen is with us.
Oh, I've got a doctorate, have I?
Yes. Professor
Cool.
Jane.
Hi.
Professorship.
Dr. Orlando.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah.
No.
Batman.
I asked that in the phone.
Yeah.
Fernando is with us.
Hello.
Yes.
He's got a tenure too.
And I'm Jeremy Taylor, the Brit
Ed
on the
Campos.
radio. My first question is, we take questions from various different people. If you want to have a question put on the podcast, just email me, jeremytaylor@sunflower.com. It's Jeremy Excuse me?
Sunflower.
Sorry about that, folks.
Beer was coming. That's much more important than questions.
You can have it intravenously if you want, Mr. Ivanov.
Oh my God.
Have you ever thought about having a bath in beer? I wonder what it would be like to have a bath in Bud Light.
Oh yeah.
That's a bath.
Beer jacuzzi. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
a good
or a
idea.
bath or a shower. Anyway,
Hour.
Yeah.
so from one of our
Sounds cold.
listeners, a well-known local doctor, said coffee is an objectively better drink than tea. Changed my mind. So I'm the Brit. I want
This
to
falls
point
to
out
you.
that coffee was brought into our country sort of sometime after the war, and everything went downhill after that. However, when we first started drinking coffee, the tea, we built up an empire, and it is said that the sun never faded on a cup of tea.
Is that what they said?
I'm sure that's not how that saying went.
Dr. Orlando,
The sun never faded in a cup of tea.
on a cup of tea.
On a cup of tea.
Yeah.
That's very
Just-
poetic.
Is it? It's something.
Quite utter nonsense. What are you
It makes
talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Rumbustuousness.
Yeah. It actually makes negative
It
amount
was
of sense.
rumbustical.
I feel dumber now. Yeah. So I'm curious.
Beautiful.
Like, do you guys deal with like Starbucks and such in the old country?
Yes, there's tons
They're
of them.
there.
Yeah, there's
There are tons of them
Starbucks everywhere.
Well, just
we've talked
kinda
about it.
curious.
There's gonna be pretty soon a small Starbucks opening inside a bigger Starbucks. It's literally there's Starbucks every freaking
It's
where.
coming.
They have a
There-
bigger tea selection there, though, in the
Uh-huh.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
But
People
they don't have
are-
PG tips or Thai food tea, and that's the thing. You see, people go,
fuck is a Thai food tea?"
Would you like tea? You know, after your meal, and you think, yeah, that would be nice. I'd love a cup of tea. Nice cup of tea, cup
So-
of tea, and they come with a great big box. I don't want a big box. I want a cup of tea. Thai
There's a
food
bunch
tea
of
bag.
flavors. You don't want flavors in the damn
wait.
stuff.
So,
Just want tea.
what is the question? Is whether it's better to drink tea or coffee or what?
Which is a better drink? Yes.
Oh, I mean, in terms of health benefits,
Just all around.
all around. Well, it's a good question actually. This is a good question.
I like tea because I like to drink tea with the milk in it.
Yes.
And so you get a little protein, a little helpfulness, a little calcium.
For-
It's good for you.
Yeah, for
Can add on
for
coffee,
Only they
too.
would think of adding something dairy-like into coffee.
Yeah. So hey,
Never heard of it.
I like milk with Coke.
The tea is extremely good for you. Of course, there's like a million kinds of tea. But basically, you can dissolve any kind of organic plant into hot water. So you can literally make tea out of any plant. There's illegal teas. like-
Marijuana tea.
There is a
absolutely,
marijuana
definitely,
tea.
yeah.
Sweet.
There is a marijuana tea. There's coca tea that's illegal.
That's great. I mean, it's a good tea.
Then there's you've heard about the kratom tea
Yeah.
in Thailand.
Yeah.
No, you can
It's-
buy it downtown, actually, by the way.
I don't think that's real kratom.
Well,
No, you can. I mean,
Kratom,
wow, that's
there's
what they're
kratom
selling
tea in
there.
Thailand. That's they call the herbo heroin. And the effect is not very good.
Yeah, I didn't
You're
got
gonna
brave
get messed
yet.
up. I think you can buy it on Amazon though.
Well, you can. I mean, Fernando's
Mass
right. I
Street.
just saw it.
Mass Street.
Yeah. But I didn't think that was actual kratom. I thought that was like some generic synthetic something or other. Okay, hold on. Back to like the English tea.
Yeah.
Is there a flavor to English tea? Or if I got English tea, what would I recognize it
It's
as?
usually black tea, right?
Earl
Or
Grey.
green tea.
It's black tea.
Not green tea.
It's not necessarily green tea.
Yeah.
There are 2 or 3 major manufacturers
Earl Grey.
of tea, being PG
I don't
Tips and
consider Earl
Taifu.
Grey
We
to
have
be decent tea.
PG Tips.
I love it. It's
Gotcha.
my favorite.
Well,
And Earl
wanna
Grey's,
fight?
Earl Grey's quite good, for thirst quenching. if you
Old
will.
socks. Old heated
exactly.
socks.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
But people don't understand about tea. The reason you put milk in afterwards is so that you don't unadulterate the tea. You have as much milk as you need, and you stir a little bit, and then so on. And what people don't they tend to
Hold
put
on,
milk
back
in
up for
first.
just a second.
That's ridiculous.
Back up just a second. Like, how do you mean you put just as much tea as you or milk as you need?
Milk. Yeah. So you've got your tea, right? Then you add milk to it, and then you add sugar. Because back in the days, in the 1700s, right, milk wasn't all that brilliant. So you would probably just have tea and sugar. Remember, sugar came out of a big block, right? Your staff would chop it up into little blocks, but you wouldn't want to have too much sugar because it was so expensive.
Yeah, but no. I have heard a completely different story on that. That the reason that you put the milk in first when you're serving tea in China is that if your China is not absolutely top notch, the heat of the straight tea, boiling water will has a chance of cracking it. So you put it into milk.
That is why, my
I
dear,
drink,
that you
both.
have
Interesting.
you have decent china, and you always pour the tea into the cup while the cup is sitting on the saucer. Good God, you've been married to British people for God knows how long.
On the other hand, when you make your morning mug of tea, you throw the tea bag in
But
there.
you don't make them on. You don't make them.
You know, I drink tea in the morning. I get one from Quick Shop. I always get the black tea.
Always been on black.
Yeah, and those assholes, about 3 or 4 months ago, they discontinued the plain black tea and started offering only disgusting flavored, some Hawaiian punch tea, stupid raspberry tea, lavender tea, motherfuckers. I hate that shit. Where is my black tea? And I asked them several times, and they're like, these are more exotic flavors, and they're more interesting
No,
to
they're
the customers.
Kool-Aid.
And I'm like, no, it's disgusting. It's not good.
And you're like,
So-
do I look exotic to you?
So I started,
Give me my black tea.
I started buying my own tea from the store, black tea. Got those cups, styrofoam cups, honey, and I make tea with honey in the morning. On the way to work, I have 1 hour commute, so I drink that tea listening to a podcast, and then in the middle of the day, I get a Starbucks Americano coffee. Now, both are very beneficial. Both tea and coffee are very beneficial health-wise, depending on how you drink them. Tea is extremely powerful antioxidant, and it's been linked to prolonging people's cognitive functions, lifespan,
Boosting immune system.
memory, immune system. Heart disease has been reduced by in habitual tea drinkers. But the key is to not add sweeteners and not really add
Ridiculous.
milk.
I've never heard
either.
of anything so ridiculous in all my life.
You have
See,
to
I
drink
don't.
it.
I like it plain.
Yeah.
I like it plain. I am a plain Janer.
Here's what I've taken to doing, and I know this is blasphemy, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I drink black tea,
Yeah.
and I'll throw in just at the last minute a little peppermint tea bag. Give it a little spike, like cuts down on the acidity of the black tea just a little bit without adding any sugar.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I know. It should be disgusting, but I actually like it a lot.
So yeah, tea is good for you. I don't like it as much as I like coffee taste-wise.
Because coffee's better.
I like coffee. I like the taste of coffee. I like the kick. Obviously, black tea has some caffeine in it, but I think it's something like 25 milligrams or something per cup. Whereas coffee, obviously, you get a kick like 200 milligrams a cup, and so
Just drink 10 cups of tea like I do.
yeah, no. Coffee is also good news keep coming when it comes to coffee. I mean, they are discovering more and more incredible
Did you see
benefits.
Jeremy just salt that piece of paper?
I did.
Okay.
Oh wait,
All kinds of benefits are related to coffee, and more information is coming through about how incredibly beneficial coffee is. Not the only, there are some drawbacks. Obviously, caffeine is a stimulant. Also, it's a diuretic, so it will dehydrate you. But
It gives you diarrhea.
coffee?
Yeah,
I don't know about that, but
it's a diuretic.
diuretic, you get
Not quite the
dehydrated. Diuretic. You know what diuretic means? It stimulates
Gives you
kidney
diarrhea.
functions.
No, don't be
No.
silly.
Anyway, were you with me? Were we together in Bulgaria when we ran into that coffee shop with the $35 coffee?
I don't think so.
$35 cup of coffee?
Yeah, cup of coffee. I think I was with Alina. Yeah, I was with Alina and her boyfriend Thomas. So we go into this restaurant, fancy restaurant in Sofia. It was an outside restaurant, but it had a reputation for being fancy. Great kitchen. And we went there and we were looking over the menu, and then I noticed the coffee was there was like regular coffee, espresso, Lavazza coffee, which is really good. And then there's a cup of coffee that costs $35. And I called the waiter. I'm like, is there some kind of mistake here?
Can I order that?
And he goes, no, this is the Kopi Lavac. The Kopi Lavac
That's the
coffee.
stuff that's gone
Yeah.
through the...
So,
yeah.
so he goes, this is Kopi Lavac coffee. And I did not know anything about the Kopi Lavac. And so he explained it to me. So there's, in Indonesia, there's a bizarre creature. I think it was called palm civet cat. It doesn't look like a cat. It looks like a lemur or a mix, like a raccoon. And it dwells in the palm trees. Those creatures eat the coffee beans and then they poop them. They partially digest them, and they have digestive enzymes that literally change the protein structure of the coffee beans and make them and take the acidity completely out of the coffee beans, so it makes for a smoother cup of coffee. But they're literally picking through the poop, cleaning the coffee beans that remain, that have been partially digested, and then brewing them into coffee. And recently I have been reading about animal cruelty in Indonesia, because they're now farming those creatures, keeping them in cages and feeding them coffee beans. And
I
it's
want to
a
know
horrible...
who first discovered the coffee
Yeah,
from this.
seriously.
That
yeah.
was a daring. I think about that. Like when I think about cakes, I think about like what was the synchronicity of events that caused someone to decide to like put these ingredients together and put them in an oven. Like it just doesn't make sense. This animal poop coffee makes that much less sense to me than
Well, you
a
have to
cake does.
remember, of course, you
bloody
see, that
pudding.
being an American, as you are, sort of, I suppose.
You mean being a member of the greatest society of all time?
Well, the Chinese may have something to say about that. Of course, they've been
We
drinking.
used to be able to
they've
say
been
that.
drinking
That's
tea
true.
for
That's true.
thousands and thousands of years.
What did it get them? Second place.
I don't know. I don't know that I'd want to argue with China at the moment. But then,
Okay,
but what
well,
I'm
this is
getting at
different
is
things.
they've been drinking tea for a very long time. We built the empire, they say, on tea. And my father was nearly shot in the head for knocking a man's cup of tea over.
Is this a typical occurrence in Britain?
No, it wasn't in Britain, it was in France, but that's beside the point.
During the war.
During the war. This guy had been trying to brew a cup of tea, parachuted, he'd come in on a glider, spent all night shooting at Germans and being shot at, and he finally got his kettle brewed. He's going to make a cup of tea, right? Poured the boiling into the tea. They didn't have tea bags then. And by the way, it was the Americans who started tea bags, not the Brits.
Of course, tea bags are better.
Teabag.
And the father jumped into this guy's gun pit with a couple of other guys and knocked the tea over, and this guy pulled a gun on him and then stopped him. But interestingly, tea bags, not a lot of people know this, but it's true, is that the tea used to come into New York, Boston, places like that, and then they needed to get the tea out west so that people could decide what tea it was they wanted to buy, right?
Before they moved to coffee. Yeah, I get it.
And they put the tea in little muslin bags, hence tea bags. And someone decided just to dunk it in hot water, right? And that's where the original idea for tea bags came from.
Yeah. Speaking of tea bags, my dad was in Russian Georgia many years ago for a judo tournament, and he told me an incredible story about a friend of his from Georgia. They didn't have tea bags. Really, it was in my lifetime when we started manufacturing tea bags in Bulgaria. You know, we just had tea leaves. And so, but in Georgia, in Russian Georgia, it took longer. And he told me that this friend of his, well, the first time he saw a tea bag, they told him this is a tea bag. He took the tea bag and he put it in his mouth and drank a glass of warm water because he thought that that's how you're supposed to drink.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I have a question for you, ultimate traditionalist, the British man, Jeremy Taylor. How do you feel about
Usually with my fingers.
iced tea? Is that a sacrilege? Iced tea.
When I met my very lovely American wife,
Yeah.
I had never had iced tea.
Me
I
neither.
Didn't know it existed.
Yeah.
Right? And so we were having some work done on our house back in London or near London. And we had these builders there, and she kept trying to make me drink iced tea, which is very weird. And
Yeah.
And so she said to the
Hot
builders,
summer's day. They were all out there
80
complaining.
degrees out, complaining about how hot it was, and so on. And she said, would you like some iced tea? A couple of them didn't hear the word iced.
Yeah.
And
Keep in
so
mind that when you've got builders in the UK, your job all day is to take trays of tea to them.
roughly every 20 minutes,
Yeah, constantly.
they down a cup of tea.
We got to move this refrigerator. We got to get some hot iced tea.
And she brought out these glasses of iced tea, Lipton's iced tea. And these guys looked at it, and of course they've got to be nice because she's the lady of the house, And she went back indoors, and I explained what had happened. One guy tried it, and the other two cups of tea went straight in the flour border. And that was that.
Yeah. Yep. So how do you feel about it, though?
What, iced
Is it
tea?
sacrilege?
No, I'm getting used to iced tea now.
Really?
It's taken nearly 20 years.
Hot tea is the ultimate comfort drink, right?
Yeah, I don't care for
It's about
iced
the
tea. I like
ritual,
hot
the smoke coming out of the tea. Sitting at the table and there's smoke coming out of the tea, and it makes you feel cozy and comfortable.
See, I don't understand why that has to be one or the other because I like them both. I like
Me
them
too.
both at different times of the day.
Yeah.
I like, excuse me, I like coffee in the morning.
Yes.
I like tea afternoon, evening. I don't know why. It's just, but I like them equally,
Yeah.
just as much as one or the other. So I
My
don't know.
wife
I'm
is
kind of the
completely
same way.
useless without a cup of tea in the morning.
Yeah. Oh, thank God you finished that
Yeah.
question.
Totally.
That sentence, I mean.
I'll tell you what.
He did. He said
When
he
she-
feels useless.
When she
I've
has
been
to go to-
cultivating this myth just so that I can get my tea in the
When she
morning.
goes to the doctor first thing, you're not allowed to drink anything because you got to give pee and do the blood and all that jazz. She's horrendous. It's horrible in the house. The boys won't come downstairs. The cat goes and hides. It's just, oh my God.
Can
So
I
my
find
job
something
is
heavier
I,
spread?
I
things
get
in
up
bed.
out of bed, I walk through into the kitchen, I put the kettle on, then
Yeah.
I go take pee-pee. Now note, I put the kettle on first,
Before
I go
this is a little
pee-pee.
too much information.
right? I mean, I'm trying to give you the priority.
I think it's the PP. This is
Everybody
getting
listening to this,
stuff.
you know
Yeah.
what your biological functions are
Yes.
first thing in the morning, right? I have to get the tea going before I go pee-pee.
I did not even know that. Now I'm a little disgusted.
Yeah.
Trust me, you'd
Well-
be more
well
disgusted
done-
if he
well done,
went
Jeremy.
PP first. So
Right.
Okay.
yeah,
All right,
you're
I
probably on
guess.
the winning end of this deal
All right, we'll go with
I
it.
love that. Have you read any of you? Have you read Three Men in a Boat by Jerome?
No.
So, Jerome was a late 19th century writer, satirist, hilarious. He was the forefather of Douglas Adams and British humor and Monty Python and all that stuff. He was hilarious. And he
Albatross.
Yeah, he told the story of three friends taking a boat on the River Thames, and for days, they traveled, and it was very funny. His description when they tried to make tea, he said the only way to make the teapot boil, the water boil, is to pretend that you're not paying attention to it.
Yes, that's
if they huddle around it and walk, it will never boil. You have to totally pretend like it's not. You don't care about it, and then it's going to boil.
Well, there is a saying, and you're quite right. There's a saying: "A watched kettle never boils," or something.
Oh,
like
really?
That.
There
yeah,
is?
something
We
like
know
that.
that.
And here's the thing: people in America, when we first came here, you couldn't get automatic kettles. And people would put water in a mug and then put the mug in the microwave, and they didn't understand why it didn't work. And the reason is, and again, as I say, Michael Caine would say, not a lot of people know this, the microwaves, you see, mess with the water.
What?
And so when the tea bag hits the water, it reacts differently. It's to do with the paper and everything else of the tea.
That is
tea
so
leaves.
much bollocks. Okay, can we get on to another question on this?
What
Because, we're just going to hear more of this
Yeah.
crap from Jeremy.
So I think that settles it. Coffee is an objectively better drink.
Well, I'm interested in.
But not Copi
I
Lavacca.
disagree.
Copi
I
Lavacca.
go on there.
I want to ask Fernando
Oh, man,
from
that's-
Brazil.
Oh, Brazilian coffee.
Yeah,
Come on.
how do you feel about tea? Because they grow
No.
tea there, don't they?
Well, weirdly, like we also drink a lot of tea there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Famous for the
Bulgarian
coffee.
friend.
No,
you know.
they are like my state basically become like the powerhouse of Brazil because of coffee. The black gold.
Yeah.
São Paulo got the richness
Yeah.
for coffee, and
That's the story I
But-
would stick to as well.
but anyway, I like I love coffee. I love tea in all aspects. There was once upon a time I just started being lazy, and then when becoming fully at coffee, I can move myself without coffee nowadays.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Well, first I go to the bathroom, and then it's my espresso,
Yeah.
and then it's my
Never
another
has
espresso.
making
So
people
so
have
basically,
so much to do.
half day like it's.
Do you brew your own coffee? Do you have a Keurig machine and you make one in the morning?
no, I have an espresso machine.
Oh,
like,
nice. I have a French press, which is also
Oh, that's
really good.
amazing
Yeah.
as well.
You naughty little boy you are. I'm told about that. But let's try another question. Here's one.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Interrupted Fernando.
Sorry, didn't know you were...
I thought
No,
you'd
no,
stopped.
no. Let's move on. I
Right,
don't see
yeah.
the time.
So, should fee-paying schools, religious ones, elitist ones, or otherwise, in the non-secular country that we live in, be banned?
I mean, a secular country. We live in a secular country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pardon
We are not non-secular.
We're secular.
Oh,
We-
I beg your
yeah.
parsnips.
So you're saying religious schools in secular countries should be banned?
No, what I'm saying is
Should
that should people be able to buy an education for their children to the detriment of ordinary kids?
That's actually interesting. That is
Yeah.
not the interpretation that I had of the question when I read it. I think I follow your train of thought, but explain what you mean when you say to the detriment of.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure you're
I
aware
don't
of
think
the
it's
laws.
fair that I don't care about the laws. I'm not talking about law. I'm just talking about the morals of it. Is it right that kids can go to an elitist school? Smaller classes, plenty of equipment, lots of books and pens and things like that. Whereas kids in other schools don't, there aren't enough seats, and
So
the seats
is
are
it
falling
fair
apart.
for people, because of either religious or wealth reasons, can buy a better education than others?
Yeah, I think if there are Catholic schools and Jewish schools and Muslim schools and what have you, where the kids they may learn math, but there's a religious spin on it, and soon we're going to have Republican schools and Democratic schools. private Republican schools.
We already do.
Well, as
Private.
far as the better education goes, with as regards to, excuse me, money and privilege, I don't think anybody ever thinks about it because that's the way it's always been. Nobody
Yeah,
ever thinks
it's-
about that.
I agree. It's difficult to quantify it in terms of fair or unfair when that's just kind of how the system is built.
Doesn't mean it's right, though, does it?
Yes.
Indeed, it does not.
It kind of enhances the division that already exists in this country. It might be at the core of the division, but yeah, we do have that, and
Can I just get
it's
a glass of water?
troublesome. I agree, it's troublesome.
And don't forget to add on this pile like about the homeschooling people too. That's pretty, and the no child left behind. That's also awful.
So I asked some folks in my class last week about universal basic income, and most of them hadn't heard of it
Really?
before. Yeah.
Okay.
And so in describing it, it was really interesting in that what they all assumed is that that meant that everybody would make a certain minimum wage. And I spent probably 10 minutes describing to them, no, that's not what a universal basic income is.
Yeah.
It is that if you are a member of that society, that country, that jurisdiction, whatever you want to say, you are guaranteed X amount of dollars
To exist.
to exist.
To not be on the
Doesn't-
street.
Yeah.
No.
Doesn't matter what your job is. You can obviously go out and find a job that pays you more.
Yeah.
But you are guaranteed this minimum.
Yeah, and this
Yeah.
is pretty much inevitable with automation. It doesn't matter how much they turn their back to it. It's inevitable. That's where we're going. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be enough jobs to keep people.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
the people going.
Exactly.
So
what-
relaying it back to your point, Jeremy, that's kind of how I view education. Like public education is that that basement that we have established that everybody needs to have access to. And I don't know whether or not it's fair. And quite honestly, just because I haven't thought about it, I don't know whether or not it's fair that people be allowed to pay more if they can access more. But I think that you do have to, at bare minimum, say that, your citizenry gets this much education. And I'm not, I can easily see an argument where people are saying it is unfair to say that I can't get a higher education if I have additional resources. Like the fairness
It's
argument.
unworkable to
But
say
what Jeremy-
you can't
Right.
buy more resources for your child.
I think what Jeremy is trying to say is that should students be indoctrinated into a religious dogma when they go to college, and should that college then be publicly financed in any way? Is that what you're
Yeah,
asking?
I don't think there should be elitism in education.
I don't think you can
Elitism?
avoid it.
No, that's no.
No, I'm
he's saying you
saying
shouldn't be able to buy
I appreciate
extra
that you may not-
facilities for your kids.
Yeah.
Without
I mean,
being at
teachers,
least heavily
teachers,
taxed.
for instance.
Oh, I see.
I don't know in a high school in Newtown, 50,000 people, 30,000 people, anywhere in America, right? Do those teachers have the equipment to do the job properly? I was in a high school the other day, and a class of maybe, I'm guessing 20 people, something like that. And they all seemed way brighter than I am now, and they're all
It's not a
16,
surprise.
17. I mean, and I wonder, well, maybe there's a class for dunces or something. What happens to the kids who drive it in their trucks, and or the girls? As a girlfriend of mine once said, she was a PE teacher, and she came home and she was really distraught. And I said, "What's the matter?" I think we were going on a date or something. I said, "Whatever's the matter?" She said, "Well, I had to take a class because a teacher was ill." And so I said to "What are you going to do when you leave school?" And a number of the girls said, "Get married, miss." That was the end of the conversation. That's all they were interested in, was go down disco, get pregnant,
Well,
get married, not necessarily in that order.
What's kind of sad is that's how I view the sorority culture in universities. A big part of it is meeting somebody in a fraternity and getting married soon after college, and it's really disgusting. I hate it. I hate the sorority fraternity culture. I don't understand it. It doesn't exist anywhere else in
I
the
agree.
world.
I think it's becoming more and more of an issue and a problem with, especially with the
hazing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hazing, sexual harassment and assault, and all that stuff. I just every time a story breaks out, which is every other week, I think to myself, why don't they just dispel all this bullshit?
Yeah.
Why do they have to be there? Get rid of this crap. That's not what college is for.
It's exact opposite of what college is for. The idea is the very eclectic atmosphere in college is an education on its own, mixing up with other people. Instead, you self-segregate in this sororities fraternity. I was in shock when I came to the States, and I had no idea what those are. Why do they use these Greek words? What is going on? When they explained it to me, I was outraged. I was like, what are you guys doing? You're defeating the purpose of education.
I'm not suggesting that we become a communist country. Dr. Orlando.
No. I was literally about to take that tack. I think that you guys are 100% wrong. Even though I agree with you, I think that it's, atrocious. But I think that exactly the point of college is to go and build up that network of people that are like you.
Well, what about the kids?
No.
What about the kids who can't get into college?
I agree.
They weren't meant to be
the
there.
network.
Like I am one of those people that is not supposed that when they thought of college, they were not thinking about me. They were thinking about how to pass on their landed gentryness to the next generation of the landed gentry.
But these kids are paying for their friends.
No, I get it. I hear what you're saying, but I come at it from a completely different perspective. I'm saying that as bad as that is, to say that it was never meant to be that way, or that is not the purpose of college, to me defeats the purpose that we put the colleges together in the first place. Like, colleges have grown into something different now because of the types of social progress that we've had, but at their core, they were a way for the landed gentry to remain landed gentry and to teach the next generation of landed gentry how to be landed gentry.
He's right. That's how they originated to get.
And that's how they are perpetuated too.
I know,
because
but
a lot of the kids say, "I'm only going because my dad wants me to.
Yeah.
I'm going because my mom wants me to." So I mean, it's still being perpetuated in that type of way.
No. The education, higher education, is meant in the 21st century, in the late 20th century, as a place of enlightenment, as an opportunity to open your mind, to step on the next plane, on the next level, understand the world better, receive an education, enrich yourself, not to separate yourself. Because this sorority fraternity shit, we are in the situation we are in right now, as these fraternity boys are ruling the country.
No, it
And
is.
the interesting thing is, if I went to a private school in England, boarding school, I went to 3 or 4 private schools, and
Oral Roberts? And by Oral Roberts, I mean a guy by name Roberts.
the sad thing about my secondary school, which is, where you get sent and you don't come home again until the end of term. You sit in the chapel and you look at these wooden boards, oak boards up on the wall, all the way down this long chapel, with names, hundreds of names.
That's Harry Potter.
Kids. It's Slytherin, straight out of Harry Potter, actually. And all these kids who had given their lives in the First World War because that's what they were supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that my grandfather and his brothers, who all went off to fight the war, they used to say it doesn't matter whether you're a lord or a pauper sort of thing. German shells don't care who they land on. Everybody's equal. And so a lot of the land...
If you didn't get to buy your way out of the war, that is.
Yeah, but that was actually much more difficult than
Bone spurs are useful.
than it sounded. But
yeah, but would they have had that same thought let's say 30 years before the war. Like, in all seriousness, I understand that the war was an eye-opener, but the war was 100 years ago.
Yeah, so the before that, i.e. the turn of the previous century, so 1800s into 1900s.
Right.
You don't remember that far back.
The eldest son inherited, the place. The girls were married off if you had females. The second son would go in the military, usually the army. The third son
Parsonage.
would hopefully get a decent vicarage, or maybe if he was a son of a duke or something like that, he'd get a bishop job, and then the fourth son would go to America with money in his back pocket.
Right.
And so a lot of sons, titled sons, believe it or not, came to America in the early 1800s, late 1700s, early 1800s.
Right.
And interestingly, with a lot of knowledge as to how to run a large farm. And guess where they ended up? Running the big slave plantations. Because they knew about running, because that's one of the things they'd learned.
Right.
And so the world that my personal forebears was born into, changed around 1914-15, when everybody went off to war. Then in the 20s, and then again in 1938-39. And so when everybody came back from the war at that point, I used to ask my mother, why didn't they vote for Churchill? I can't understand. She said, that's not what we fought the war so that we could have a national health system and so on. That's what they fought the war for. I have this, and yet my parents sent me to boarding school and what have you. And it was elitist. But here's the thing. My sister had a friend whose father was ridiculously wealthy. Walmart wealthy.
You guys were just humorlessly wealthy.
Right.
He was ridiculously
and living in a great big castle. Huge, ginormous castle. And she used to say to my mother that she used to like to come for weekends to stay with my sister because it was nice and warm in our house. My mother would go, what? Because our house was always cold because my father went around turning the radiators off. And
he didn't like you very much.
No, but the point was that although Daddy was a millionaire, there was no heat, and castles weren't designed to have heat.
Right.
So it's not all
Sure.
made out to.
Don't go looking forward to living in a castle.
I have a question though. Moving on from the school thing, I haven't been able to.
But it's cold.
It's damn bloody cold.
Where's my shawl?
There's this recent TV series, Victoria, and she's going around in these deep necklines and so. You wouldn't do that. You'd have shawls all over the place.
And you had staff who got up at 4 o'clock in the morning and set all the fires in the house, and things like that. The people don't realise
Poor
these
little scullery maids.
Yeah, these big houses had hundreds of staff working for them. That's what's really bizarre.
And there was an elite inside of them as well. I'm like, there was it was crazy.
Human beings are meant to stratify. At least that's how civilization
we all watched
has
Downton Abbey,
gone.
and what you saw in Downton Abbey was probably 1/20th of the staff that would have worked Downton Abbey in the late 1800s.
Right.
Wow.
They would have literally had 100, maybe 150 staff. You'd have the gardening staff,
Each of which made all of 10 cents a year.
You'd have the stable staff. You'd have
And we're glad to make it.
the vegetable garden staff, right? The kitchen staff,
Yeah.
the cleaning staff.
Oh, the cleaning staff is now replaced by Dyson's cyclonic suction technology. Motherfucker.
So here's the question. I looked this
I
up.
hate that.
Taking their jobs.
Someone said to
Dyson.
Someone said to me, "Come on, children, back to because people are driving along. They want to hear." I've not been able to find an answer to this. Why do we have religion? Whoa, where did that come from, and why do we need it? I haven't actually been able to find out
that's
why
Lewis's favorite
we
topic.
have a religion. Why is there such thing as religion?
Because there's fear.
Boom. That's that is
fear,
the
boom,
most
religion.
succinct,
Duh.
perfect answer I've ever heard to that question.
It is the
That's
best way to manage your overall fear of life and death.
fear of death.
Fear of everything.
Certain people seem to be luckier than others, and we want to look for a way to explain why bad things happen to good people.
And also the
religion.
fear of losing our loved ones and never seeing them again is just too much for most people to bear.
Yeah.
Yes, the emptiness is frightening, and the existential crisis is insurmountable. So you have to have some kind of explanation, some kind of hope.
You got somebody
I
else,
guess
somebody else to blame.
It's of course it's much more complicated than that. You can bring in moral values and moral kind of safety net.
Well,
No,
and
no,
don't
no.
forget,
Religion doesn't necessarily bring in moral values.
we gotta
No,
have
not for you and me, but some people
Yeah.
need this kind of.
we gotta have religion because Jesus tells us to.
Yeah, yeah. Do you consider the certain, the Christians that are far right and would stone you for
saying that.
for having dinner with a woman who wasn't your wife, hence, or the
Wahhabi.
far right Muslims or other religious sects that will kill you if you don't think the same way they do.
Yeah, that's the
Well,
dogma.
Once again, we
purpose.
go back to the elite.
No.
I mean,
Well,
seriously,
it's not
think
even
about
a function of elitism at a certain point. At a certain point, it was part of how you ensured that your culture survived. Like everybody had to think the same way, everybody had to believe the same thing, or else the folks that lived on the next hill over could come and convince half of your tribe to leave.
Oh yeah. The
So,
tribalism.
so
that we
tribalism,
talked about.
family, and religion all helped keep a cohesive unit that could survive against other cohesive units. And the fact that it has no place in modern society really doesn't seem to make any
also,
difference.
religion also existed because we were, as a civilization, we were in our infancy, and we just couldn't explain to ourselves the material world. Forget about the spiritual world. We couldn't explain lightning. We didn't understand that there could be a positively charged
ignorance.
ionic particles in the air. We had to, for thousands of years, lightning was a work of Zeus.
Religion.
And
Th-
so was
because of
sunsets
fear of
and
ignorance.
sunrise.
But
But as science, as we learned about the world surrounding us, as we learned about material world, physics, chemistry, and so on, science started replacing these beliefs, these kind of a paganistic beliefs. And it's interesting that wherever you go in the world, there was always religion. You can go on the most remote Pacific island, separated from everything, and you will find the existence,
stone heads.
remnants of religion, or in the jungle, wherever
Here's
you are.
the weird thing.
Yeah.
No matter where you go in the world,
Yeah.
what culture, doesn't matter. There is always a blonde goddess.
A blonde guy?
A blonde goddess. Like every society at some point
What
or
else
another.
would they put in their movies?
Yeah.
No, it's
Hello?
very, very
we had
strange.
henges.
Seriously?
We
Serious?
had
No,
henges.
just a minute.
Blonde goddess?
Serious?
Huh?
You're being serious? There's
I'm
somebody
100%
blonde in
serious. Every society
I have not heard
has
that before.
and it's very weird. Native Americans, African, like different
had
African
somebody blonde.
had a blonde
I thought
goddess.
the Native
Stormy
American
Daniels.
that you're talking about wasn't it like literally like a silver
Corn husk?
albino
No.
or something?
No, she had
The
silver.
corn goddess?
The hair of.
So
corn husk.
please
Okay.
don't ever say this to that idiot with the crazy hair on Ancient Aliens, because he's never gonna stop talking about the alien blonde that came from another planet. So
Stormy Daniels?
Stormy Daniels, yeah.
We need to take a quick break because our producer. It's very rare that this happens. I'm very sorry, but the producer is
Do you have to go
insisting
poo, Eric?
on
Eric,
saying
Eric the Viking.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to jump in to this conversation.
It's not a
No
break.
no break.
Cool.
Just an addition.
Okay,
Yes.
what is-
Enlightenment from Eric.
Enlightenment
Go,
from
Eric.
on high.
He's not blonde enough.
I've been looking into the God module as we are at the top of the food chain, so we have to explain something that is bigger than us, or we have to try to understand something that is
Yeah.
bigger and better than us. And
Yeah.
so there are theories that the God module exists in the human brain to create something that doesn't put us at the top of the food chain, so to speak.
Yeah, and there's three major forms of religion. As you know, there's polytheism, there's pantheism, and there's monotheism. And the polytheism is like the ancient Greeks and the Romans, that they have many gods. And the pantheism I like because
Star Wars?
Well, according to it, yes, the God is in everywhere, in everything. It's everywhere. It's in every item. Like Schopenhauer believed in this, and many people call it different things. Like Schopenhauer called it free will. Robert Persick called it equality. Somebody would call it Jesus Christ or the Holy Spirit, whatever. The monotheism is interesting because it talks about the single, all-powerful sky God, and I feel like it was very interesting to me how people were amazed that evangelicals went in such enormous numbers for Donald Trump. No. That's what they believe in. They believe in dictatorial God. They believe in authoritarian figure pulling the strings, and they like being subservient to a strong person. This is an instinct. This is within their genes.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not sure that is just an evangelical, a feature of evangelicals.
No, it's not. But it's one. It's
Yeah.
Well,
definitely
then
there.
they should have gone for the spaghetti god.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah.
He's the most powerful, and he has all those tentacles. Wonderful. And he tastes good.
Authoritarian figure is in the DNA of this crowd.
Yeah.
It's inside of. They love it. They love following like a herd.
And
you know.
they
But
can
they are
pretend-
not building henges. That's the thing.
Democracy to them is atheism. Atheism.
So, the funny, interesting thing is, this is exactly the theme of the first Avengers movie. Like, Loki comes, the Avengers.
Oh.
Loki comes down and says, "You know what you human beings need? You need
good, powerful.
yeah."
Yeah.
Someone to lead you, someone to tell you what's right and wrong. And his idea is in your heart of hearts, it's true.
So you better build a beautiful dome, big, beautiful, gorgeous dome around your planet.
Oh, Lord.
God, keep those aliens out.
What is your theme song? Evo, do you have a theme song?
A theme song.
Hard out here for a pimp.
It's hard
Evo,
out
Evo.
here for a pimp. It's a good one.
How about Welcome to My Nightmare?
No. It's gonna be something like Imagine, because I'm such a hippie and a pacifist.
That one.
Pretty much I agree with everything that I got pissed off when CeeLo Green was chosen to sing Imagine at the New Year's Day a couple years ago, and he replaced Imagine No Religion with something else. He replaced the words, which ironically is a sacrilege. So I kind of follow that. I love that. I've never thought about it. It's an excellent question, and it's something that I'm going to end up thinking about as I drive around and drive to work, because I'm sure I'm going to come up with something better than that. But this came right into my head right now.
So imagine, Fernando, what's your theme song?
Some flamenco.
Song that-
I don't know.
Man,
Oh no, you liked.
Give him a minute to
there was an
think.
amazing Portuguese song that you used to play on the
King of the
jukebox.
Bongo?
No,
yeah.
It was so good.
the
I don't know what it was.
16 tonelada.
Oh, that was so
It's
good.
well, there is many songs, but it's always those flashback things. Could be from the old times, and that song was I think a cover, like some samba.
Yeah. If I hear it, I'll think of you immediately.
Yep.
Jane, do you have a theme song? Other than
Peaches, fuck the pain away.
What is this one?
I'm kidding.
I like that. Fuck the pen
Have you
away.
ever heard that song? It's
Good
horrible.
choice,
It's a
good
horrible
choice.
song. Anyway, I mean, it's kind of fun, but at the same time. Anyway, okay, no.
Is it one you listen to while you're performing?
I play it every time it's my birthday. I put it on a jukebox just to see people's reactions.
It's my birthday, and I'll cry if
Make
I
them
want
turn
to.
it up. No, my theme song is actually called Bug Eyes by Dredge. It kind of reminds me of one of my favorite poems by John Keats called When I Have Fears. But honestly, the lyrics themselves pretty much sum up my existence up to a certain point. And I found this song just because I liked the tune, and then I started listening to the lyrics, and it was actually my life. So I would say
That's
that would
profound. Kath, you don't own me. You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys. You don't own me.
That is a really good
Please
thought.
don't. Yeah, it is good.
Yeah,
great
it is.
song, by
I
the
like
way.
that.
And by the way, some idiot made it into a rap. Some woman made it into a hip hop song. You have it? Oh, that's that song. That's it. I love this song. Good job, Fernando. But
And it's a cover, right?
somebody
I mean-
made a hip hop, and the hook was "You Don't Own Me," and the kids went crazy over this song, and I tried to explain to my son's friends, this is not written by that hip hop star. This is not, and they're like, you're full of crap. You know, this is, yeah.
Well, no, my theme song is, there's contradictions here. Okay, it's somewhere in between No Man is an Island, okay, Entire of Itself, etc.
Unless it's Chris Christie.
Yeah. And If I Were a Rich Man. It's just the kind of opposites here, but I
Like
That's
the
pretty
musical
good.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty good. Louis, Prince?
Actually, no.
No Prince?
No, not Prince.
Okay.
Because when I was in high school, it started, and just about every time I would walk into a room, and like there wasn't a teacher or something like official going on in there, I would hear at least one person start, Louis. Oh, say we gotta go.
Yeah, so that's became the soundtrack of your life.
That really, legitimately, if there were 5 of my friends in a room, and I walked in that room, there were 5 guys singing.
Okay, we got to get
Louis,
that.
Louis.
We got to find it, Eric, so that we can put it in here when Dr. Orlando is introduced.
So, Fernando, did you come back with one?
He just played it.
Oh yeah, just
Oh,
play
you
it.
just played it. I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. So, okay.
Mr. Taylor,
Starman.
Starman.
Somebody.
It's and interestingly, it's not one that I've got on my liners or bumpers doing the shows. It is the one song out of probably 20 or 30 favorite songs that I still
Yeah, it makes sense. Jeremy Spoken,
yeah.
which should be your
I get it.
No.
Very
He has a liner for
We should
evil,
commit suicide.
and it's what? Sharp-dressed man, well-dressed person, something like that.
Sharp-dressed man.
ZZ Top.
That's for chef. So, Mr. Evo, I'm interested to know who our sponsors were very kindly today.
Many sponsors, of course. Our sales department, which is me, has been busy contacting potential sponsors.
And didn't those roadmap people?
Yes, McKinley,
McNally.
McNally. Yeah, those guys were we were very successful with them.
Oh, I
They-
needed to say something to you. You posted a great big thing, and people who follow Evo will know that you posted a great big thing about mountaineering.
Oh, yeah.
And the translation doesn't translate right, because when he
sad.
said, when asked why did he do it,
Yeah.
the answer was because it's there,
Yes.
and that is not what it says in the translation.
Does it say in the translation because it exists or something like that?
It says something else.
Google Translate.
Yeah, doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But who were the sponsors for this week?
All right, I'm not gonna depress you with the mountaineering story. It's pretty sad, actually.
Okay.
I think I lost a friend there in the Himalayas.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But our sales department, I got a lead as the head of the sales department. I got a lead into a fantastic company that apparently was interested in sponsoring our podcast, It is called Phone Seater P60 corded answering machine. Through the magic of micro cassettes and magnetic tapes, they are able to turn on and off and provide answer, becoming your personal phone butler. So of course, I followed the lead and I called the Phone Seater P60 answering machine, and ironically, I didn't get an answer. I got a message, and here's the message. I will recreate it. Hello. Hello, you have reached Phone Seater P60 answering machine. We are not here right now. We're extremely busy not sponsoring your fucking show. So after the beep, please go fuck yourself.
That's a pretty good reply. Whoa.
You've been listening to another Wednesday Night Undress. Want to thank our sponsors, the telephone people.
Yes.
We'd also like to thank our engineer and producer and co-host this week, engineer, of course, Eric, the producer. Yay! Like to thank the team: Kathleen, Dr. Orlando, Jane, as always, Ivo Ivanov, myself, and of course our guest tonight, Fernando. And again, thank you very much for listening to another Wednesday Night.